Hey, Richard Hightower said, when there's time on the clock, don't give us a chance. And that proves to be true week after week. Hello, everyone, and welcome into Bears Blitz, brought to you by IGS Energy. Luke Canellis, Anthony Herron, I'm Cassie Carlson. So it's 5 comeback wins now for the Bears. It is absolutely crazy that they are able to do this week after week, and they are now in sole possession of first place in the NFC North. The percentages right now, they're pretty good, 59% to make the playoffs after last week. If they win this week, the percentage goes up to 69% with the win over the Steelers on Sunday. Those numbers are pretty. And
well, with 7 wins and 7 games to go, their chances are, as you said, increasing. And what I don't think we take enough into account, Big A, is parity in the NFL is alive and roaring right now. Just ask the Buffalo Bills.
Right.
All right. Just ask the Green Bay Packers, who had a tough time last week against the Giants. Winning in this league isn't easy. Who are the top teams? New England, Indy, the Bears. Who had those 3 teams leading their divisions, 12 weeks into the season?
And when you think about the way that the teams with the best records in football are winning right now, a lot of them are winning close games. But then that's just kind of life in the National Football League, too. So when you can show that you have the ability to make plays late, that when everyone else around you is losing their heads, you keep yours. And that's what makes the good teams into the great teams. And the Bears certainly aren't a great team yet. There's not a doubt in my mind, with a 7-3 record, leading the division 11 weeks into the season, now entering week 12. This is really a good football team who still, I believe, when you look at the other squads in this division, comparing them with Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, there's not a team who I believe is further away from their ceiling than the Chicago Bears. So that's a strong position for Ben Johnson to operate from.
All right, well, inside the building, no playoff talk is happening right now. Instead, they are solely focused on the next game on the schedule.
Ben said something to me, and then said it to the team recently. Is one of his old mentors. He said, you don't, and this is speaking on quarterback terms. I don't know if you can go 25 for 25, but I do know that you can go 1 for 1. Each and every single time, 25 times. And so, just focusing on where we're at, and focusing on being 1-1. And that's me saying 100%, but that's 1-0 this week.
The city is excited, you know what I mean? Like, it hasn't been a whole lot of winning here, but we haven't accomplished nothing. And honestly, nobody remembers what you do in October, September, and even this early part of November. Like, people remember what you do in November, December, and January. So that's what we want to be remembered by.
We still have a long way to go. We really haven't done anything yet. And that's really the mentality, is we have to grow every day. If we want to get to where we think we're capable of going, we have to keep our foot on the gas. There is no let up. There is no off day. We're trying to go 1-0 today.
And the Steelers will be the first team above 500 the Bears have seen since week 6 when they took on the Commanders, and the Commanders were just 3-2 in that point. The Steelers lead the AFC North. Mike Tomlin has never had a losing season, has a ton of respect from head coach Ben Johnson, and we know that this Steelers defense can put a ton of pressure on the quarterback, and it's going to force Caleb Williams to make some quick decisions.
Yeah, they can put pressure on the quarterback. You're right. 3rd in the league in quarterback sacks, number 1. They've got T.J. Watt, who has 114 career sacks, one of the tops in the NFL. But can I pay some homage to their head coach, Mike Tomlin?
Yeah,
this guy's been on the job since 2007. They've been to the playoffs 12 times since 2007. All right, they've won the division 7 times, been to the AFC Championship 3 times, to the Super Bowl twice, and won a Super Bowl. I think that guy on the other sideline, and I have the most respect out there for Ben Johnson. I am excited to see the way these 2 head coaches go at each other on Sunday as well.
When you compare the perception of each coach, we know what Mike Tomlin is. We know he's more than capable of winning close games. He's done it so much throughout his coaching tenure and done it with a variety of quarterbacks. For Ben Johnson, the assumption was that you'd have this offensive guru come to Chicago. And yes, they've been the most explosive offense in the National Football League. We've seen them put up points and have chunk plays. But with all these close games and the way that Ben Johnson is having to manage these close games, and they've won them with high-flying offense. They've won them with exceptional defense. They've won them with big plays on special teams late. And so we're seeing Ben Johnson's ability as a first-year head coach to manage the game and to put complementary football ahead of anything else, because he could have tried to be more aggressive at certain points, even in last week's game in Minneapolis, but decided to have one phase of the game complement the other and put his team in position to win. That's been one of the more impressive things to me about us observing what Ben Johnson's doing as a head coach.
Yeah, and another thing to build off of that is Declan Doyle talked about the fact that just like we talk about how Caleb Williams' heart rate goes down in those late game situations, Ben Johnson has the same demeanor on the sidelines. And he noted the game management, the clock management, the fact that they had 3 timeouts left in Minneapolis to manage the clock in the game that way just shows how smart and I think experienced Ben Johnson is at play calling. And that's something that Bears haven't really experienced a lot.
Right.
Talking about Mike Tomlin, there was a situation, I think everyone's heard of it now at this point, Jamar Chase spitting at Jalen Ramsey. Ramsey gets ejected, and Mike Tomlin said if someone spits on you, you have all right to react however feels natural. And I love what Ben Johnson said. He said, whatever he said this week about that situation, I fully agree with. And I feel like these are 2 football junkies who are going at it this week.
He's got such great respect for a guy like Mike Tomlin, who's always had his players back. So I think that exactly what I said before. I'm excited to see these 2, a first-year head coach against a head coach who's been in the league 19 seasons. You know, I threw out his credentials enough to get into the Hall of Fame as a head coach.
Oh, I think without a doubt. Yeah, he's got the Super Bowl championship already. The record is exemplary. And when you can win that consistently at that level, yes, there are fans in Pittsburgh who are trying to figure out how good are the Steelers this year. And there's a thought that maybe they've been in that position for a number of years now. But they're in it every single season.
But those fans in Pittsburgh, B-Gay, say he doesn't win enough playoff games.
I mean, I understand the frustration
take a visit to Chicago.
of the fans. Right. I mean, that's the thing. There's another end of that spectrum where you don't maintain that level of consistency that we've seen in Pittsburgh, where the frustration can be it feels like you're never going for it. You're never in the hunt. There's a number of fan bases around the league that feel that. Bears fans have felt that.
We just want to be in the hunt.
We are in the hunt. That's a good thing right now. Right. You look at the Steelers' defense right now. It ranks 28th, and that's not really what Mike Tomlin is known for with his teams historically. But over the last 3 weeks, they've really stepped up, and they're holding teams to just 19 points per game. They create takeaways, too, and they lead the league with 12 forced fumbles. Ball security is going to be a point of emphasis, and I think you look at Nick Herbig and T.J. Watt, 2 edge rushers. Those are 2 guys you're going to have to key in on, knowing that Caleb Williams can escape, but also those 2 can get at the quarterback.
Well, they're going to pinch the ends, number one, so they're not going to let him roll out and try to escape and avoid contact like he's done so well over the last couple of games. You brought up the turnover margin. They're 2 big wins against New England and Indy. They were +5 in turnover margin against the Patriots, +4 against the Colts. You can't give it up to this Pittsburgh team or you'll lose. And so far, the Bears have done a really good job, specifically their quarterback, Caleb Williams, of protecting the football.
That's one of the more impressive things to me about where he's at in his development. Just like I was talking about with Ben Johnson, where he may not be the full version of what he'll become as a head coach. And I think that matchup that we saw last week, the Bears offense and the play calling versus Brian Flores. I think Ben Johnson was maybe a little flustered at times by how Minnesota was attacking them. But as an overall manager of the game, he's been exceptional. I've been pleasantly surprised by that. And for a young quarterback who frankly plays outside the lines, beyond the X's and O's, operates in the gray as much as Caleb does when he's freelancing, to protect the football in the way that he does as a passer, as a runner, you rarely see that. I mean, if a guy's running around frequently, defenders are coming from behind, clubbing the football away. When he's throwing off platform frequently, quarterbacks will throw it into harm's way and it gives defenders opportunities. Caleb protects the football with his style of play at a level that we've rarely seen in the sport. So there's a lot of room for growth as a passer and operating within the X's and O's. But for Caleb himself, yes, protecting the football against this Steelers defense that's so opportunistic, especially as they've moved Jalen Ramsey more in the safety, operating more in the middle of the field and his playmaking ability. Their defense has taken a big step forward. Cam Hayward, a veteran guy, he lines up tight on the offensive tackle pretty frequently. The Bears need to run the football and set up Caleb for some success.
And they do have the second-ranked run game in the league. That's always a good sign. You mentioned protecting the football. One thing I found interesting that we learned this week is that Ben Johnson does not believe in 50-50 balls because there has been disconnect between Caleb Williams and his receivers on those deep shots down the field. But Ben Johnson said he's trying to scheme these guys open and take high percentage shots. And then Caleb Williams said the same thing. Historically, if he looks at his career, he doesn't want the 50-50 balls. He wants to make sure that the ball gets into his players' hands.
Well, they've tried to throw the football deep. They've thrown 50 times plus 20 yards so far this season. That's second highest in the NFL. Just one other team has thrown the football downfield more than the Bears. This offense is based on timing and accuracy. His timing's been off. He hasn't been able to get it to his players in stride for those yards after catch, and his accuracy has been off with the deep ball.
What I like is that he's throwing the football to the right spot. He's getting it to the right guy. And so he's seeing the field better and better almost on a weekly basis. And that's a really good sign for a young quarterback. And as the thought process, the thinking slows down for Caleb, and he just gets to the point where he's hitting that back foot and letting the ball rip, some of the RPMs will turn down on that. I think the more catchable football or runner's ball, as they talk about it at Hallis Hall, we'll see that more frequently from Caleb as he's able to be ahead of the play mentally, as opposed to, it feels to me like sometimes he still feels like he's catching up and seeing it maybe a tick later than he'd like to, and then throwing the ball with more zip than he should, or overthrowing a receiver because he's not comfortably in rhythm.
But they still feel good about where Caleb Williams is right now because they threw so much at him at the beginning of this whole start of the new era with Ben Johnson. That's why they feel like they did that, because now you're starting to see it week by week, seeing the progression. And I think the bottom line is we want to go into the end of the season and know how we do feel about Caleb Williams, and all signs are pointing up. Now, Ben Johnson was asked, because we know Caleb Williams' idol growing up, unfortunately, was Aaron Rodgers. It's hard to admit that in this city. Ben Johnson was asked if he sees any similarities between the two quarterbacks, and he said, not right now, at least at this point in Caleb Williams' career, because Aaron Rodgers, the quickest to throw, Caleb Williams, the longest to throw.
Well, he's taking his time right now. And I think part of the reason is, as you just touched on, and Big A, he's so much better today in Week 12 than he was in Week 1 against the Vikings. He knows the offense. He knows what's expected of him from his head coach. And I think his teammates know more about how to play with Caleb Williams than they did at the beginning of the season.
And when you think about that comparison, go back to the early part of Aaron Rodgers' career. He held the football a long time as well. I mean, there were times where his coach at the time, Mike McCarthy, would be at the podium, and Aaron Rodgers would come out of a game where he took a bunch of sacks, and he would just flat out tell the Green Bay media, yeah, our quarterback has to get better at getting rid of the football. He's putting our offensive line in jeopardy. And we've seen that progress so much throughout the career of Aaron Rodgers. So I think the comparison isn't a fair one to say, how's Caleb Williams compared with the current Aaron Rodgers? But first-year starter, Aaron Rodgers, you compare him to then, the first couple of years where Rodgers was making a bunch of plays, but what he was doing and how he was operating looked drastically different then than it does now.
All right, so you're saying there's still a chance he's a 4-time MVP one day.
Fingers are crossed.
Easy.
Fingers are crossed.
Do you sort of thrive off of being the villain there a little bit? Sort of enjoy that?
I'd rather not be. I mean, I'm not in Green Bay anymore. I feel like we can let bygones be bygones. It's a great rivalry. I mean, in the history of all sports, you talk about the Lakers and the Celtics, and the Red Sox and the Yankees. You got to talk about the Packers and the Bears. I hope those fans can put that behind them. I'm sure they can't. Don't expect them to.
Yeah, he can wipe that smirk off his face, but it's a stat you're going to hear all weekend long. Aaron Rodgers, it's 25-5 against the Bears. He knows it. Players know it too, but he is dealing with a fracture in his left wrist and wore a brace at practice on Thursday and Friday. The Bears are preparing as if he'll play. And I look at Aaron Rodgers, his track record, and I'm thinking there is no way he is going to sit out a game at Soldier Field.
He is too much of a competitor, and I don't care what he says. You are Chicago's #1 sports villain, and I know you love every second of it. I could take my shirt off and show you the scars you've left as a Bears fan on me, because you have tortured us, and he will play in this football game. I'd be shocked if he didn't. I get it. He was limited again on Friday, but I believe he's going to be out there. They need him. They're only a game ahead of the Ravens in the standings for the top spot in the AFC North.
It's his non-throwing wrist. He's tough as nails. We've seen Aaron Rodgers play through so many other things throughout his career up to this point. Yeah, I don't think there's any way he's not going to play. Now, whether or not he finishes the game, that could be a different story. You want to get some heat on the old quarterback. Maybe you bang him up a little bit. But Mason Rudolph has been fine as a backup for Pittsburgh throughout his time as well. So it's not like you're sort of preparing for a different offense, whether you see Aaron Rodgers or Mason Rudolph. But I do think, yes, he's going to be in the lineup to start this game.
Yeah, they have plenty of tape on both quarterbacks. Here's what the Bears had to say about Aaron Rodgers.
I still think he moves around in the pocket well. I don't know that he's creating the plays down the field as much with his legs like he did when he was a little younger, but he throws the ball. He's got a really quick release. He plays a cerebral game at the quarterback position, and that's challenging for us.
I don't think it has anything to do with his record against Chicago. I think it's just I want to play against Aaron Rodgers. I want to shake his hand at the end of the game, tell him good game, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, him congratulating us on a win. I want to play against them. You want to play against the best quarterbacks, especially a Hall of Fame quarterback.
And Tyreek Stevenson said his only goal this week is to pick off Aaron Rodgers, and he will put that ball at the top of his trophy case one day and tell his kids about it. But I think the bigger news, when you look at this Bears defense, is we know they've been dealing with a ton of injuries, and while Jalen Johnson, Kyler Gordon are trending and they were full participants, the Bears are going to be down their top 3 linebackers. No TJ Edwards, Tremaine Edmonds, or Noah Sewell. So you're looking at the backups against a really, as Dennis Allen said, cerebral quarterback, and they also have Kenny Gainwell, who can run the ball and catch out of the backfield as well.
Cassie, this is a problem. I mean, I really think this is a serious problem. It's one thing to be without TJ Edwards since the Cincinnati game when he broke his hand back on November 2nd. Now you lose Tremaine Edmonds, who's having his best season since he was a member of the Bears. 4 interceptions, leads the Bears by a mile in tackles, and you lose Noah Sewell. So now you're using guys like rookie Ruben Hippolyte. You're using DeMarco Jackson, who played for Dennis Allen in New Orleans, but has had a handful of snaps so far this season. And you're dealing with a 41-year-old, 4-time most valuable player who knows where to pick your pocket. And he's going to go after the Bears in the middle of their defense.
And Ruben Hippolyte certainly hasn't had much, if any, action on Bears defense. Not any time of leverage, really, on the Bears defense so far this season. Amen Agbangbamiga. We expect to see him out there quite a bit as well. But these are all guys who you haven't had to count on. I mean, Noah Sewell, he would be nice if he was able to be out there and count on him, because we've at least seen him this season. Prior to now, you hadn't seen a lot from Noah Sewell in the Bears defense. He's been in the midst of his best season of his career as well. So fortunately, Pittsburgh hasn't run the ball that consistently, that effectively up until now. But I'm sure they're looking at a Bears defense on film that throughout the season has been pretty leaky against the run, to say the least. They're looking at this saying, this is an opportunity now for us to take some pressure off of a battered, older quarterback and see if we can run the rock against the Bears.
Well, and Dennis Allen said you want to put pressure on Aaron Rodgers while he's in the pocket, and we've come to learn that maybe the Bears' best pass rushers are blitzing. They're from the secondary. So being that you have a 41-year-old quarterback who's seen everything, can ID everything, how much more difficult does it make that, or how much more emphasis does it put on the defensive line to get pressure from your front 4?
Something we haven't seen. I mean, Montez Sweat right now leads the team with 5.5 sacks. You've got 3 guys on the Steelers who have at least 5.5 sacks. My question, Big A, and you played the position, can we just go into this game on Sunday and play with 7 defensive backs and 4 defensive linemen?
They don't even have that.
Because don't laugh, because wait, the last 2 weeks, Dennis Allen has played with 2 linebackers out there.
He's been in his sub package quite a bit lately as the linebackers have been banged up, and they've never been more banged up this season than they are right now. So the Bears will spend a lot of time in their sub packages. Will it be nickel? Will it be dime? That may end up depending, because we're kind of hopeful on what's happening in the secondary. We can't assume too much about Kyler Gordon or Jalen Johnson, but it's at least nice to know that there are some reinforcements on the way. And, you know, you don't want to give any game away, but at least the Bears are in a position now where they've been able to earn the right with a 7-3 record to not feel like they need to rush anyone. That's one of the benefits of winning the games in the manner they've won so far, where there's urgency to win on a weekly basis. And yes, you improve your playoff opportunity by winning this game by that much more. But yet still, the season isn't over if you're not at your peak right now against the Steelers, a non-divisional opponent.
Well, and I think that's something you want to take into consideration when you're looking at when you want Jalen Johnson and Kyler Gordon to return, because they play Sunday and then they have a 5-day break before they play again on Black Friday against probably the best opponent that they're going to see up until this point in the season on the road in Philly. When Kyler Gordon comes back, with C.J. Gardner-Johnson playing so well at slot corner right now, Dennis Allen said you want as many great players on the field as possible. This is not a problem in their eyes. But how do you foresee putting and making sure both players can be on the field as much as possible?
Well, number one, I think you've got to get C.J. Gardner-Johnson somewhere on the football field, even if it means he's rotating with some of the defensive backs out there. Now, I know that I've heard some suggest that maybe you move Kyler Gordon to cornerback outside of the nickel position. Listen, you made him the highest paid nickel in football for a reason. Nobody plays that position better. Number one. Number two, he hasn't practiced at cornerback. I think that's difficult. A name that I've seen often on the injury report over the last few weeks has been Jaquan Brisker with that bad shoulder. Yep. Maybe you rotate C.J. Gardner-Johnson and Jaquan Brisker at safety, because Byard is having too good of a season to move him and out.
Well, the more bodies you have on the field, and especially being able to play at the second level, there are a lot of defensive sets the Bears have where Kyler Gordon is essentially a linebacker. He's kind of their will linebacker in some of the sets that they have. So whether he is a true nickel or he is a guy who's playing in the box and operating as a backer, he's capable of that. You need to find a way to do it in doses. And the good thing is, if you've got he and CD Deuce on the field together, you got Spider-Man and Venom. They're both versatile. They're both dangerous within the blitz package. So you can really have these movable chess pieces at the second and third level. And you're going to need it because I imagine the Steelers are going to throw a lot of multi-tight end sets at the Bears and have a controlled passing attack. And whether you're talking Darnell Washington, Pat Freiermuth, they got bodies they can throw at you.
Darnell Washington is someone that Tyreek Stevenson played with.
320 pounds?
311
like that,
pounds.
apparently.
Tyreek Stevenson said he actually played with him at Georgia, and he said you basically got to want to take him down. I don't know if anyone wants to because he is trucking over people. Your player to watch is brought to you by IGS Energy. Lou, who you got?
I'm going with Colston Loveland. Steelers have a tough time defending the tight end. Loveland's numbers really good over the last 3 weeks. More important, he has been terrific as far as catching the football. 0 drops so far this season. It's about the head coach feeling confident in his tight end, and Loveland's filling the bill.
All right, will we or will we not see Aaron Rodgers? That is the question. We will see you Sunday morning for Bears Game Day Live at 9:30. Have a good weekend.